You've probably heard a lot about the signs of narcissists in romantic relationships, but what about in the bedroom? Maybe you've experienced nights full of passion, only to be left feeling empty, manipulated, or worse, completely ignored, as if you never mattered. These aren't just personal experiences. They could be signs that you're having sex with someone who exhibits narcissistic personality traits. In today's video, we're going to explore this issue through a psychological lens. 13 signs you're having sex with a narcissist, and more importantly, how to safely and consciously walk away from that relationship. What you're about to hear is not meant to attack anyone, but to help you regain emotional control, understand yourself more deeply, and learn how to build healthier, more respectful relationships in the future. Stay with us until the end, because the final part will reveal how to stop attracting narcissists into your life and protect your emotional and intimate well-being from repeating toxic patterns. If you're seeking clarity, healing, and a science-backed perspective, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join us on this journey towards self-understanding and protection. There's something most people don't want to admit, that sex is never just physical. It's a space where we become emotionally exposed, where we offer trust in its most instinctive form. But for a narcissist, this sacred space isn't a place of connection, it's a stage for control. To them, sex isn't about mutual vulnerability or intimacy, it's about performance. It's about manipulation. It's about convincing you that they are unique, irreplaceable, and that you should feel lucky just to be chosen by them. When you enter into an intimate relationship with someone who possesses high narcissistic traits, you'll soon notice you're not truly being loved, you're being used. And because narcissists are masters of disguise, many people don't see it, not until the damage is already done. From those intoxicating early encounters to the sudden emotional withdrawal after sex, you find yourself caught in a cycle. One moment you're worshipped like royalty, and the next discarded without explanation. You begin to doubt yourself. Did I do something wrong? Am I asking for too much? But here's the truth. The problem isn't with you. It's with the type of person you're attached to. So how do you know if the person you're being intimate with is actually a narcissist? Right now, we're going to walk through 10 clear signs, psychological and behavioral patterns that reveal their true motives. These signs aren't meant to judge others. They're here to protect you from relationships that can chip away at your self-worth, sense of safety, and ability to trust. Stick with us, because each sign will help you connect the dots in ways you may have never realized. And maybe, just maybe, this is the first time you'll be able to see the full picture, not through the lens of love, but through the clarity of awakening. Sign 1. The way they view sex leaves you confused. When you're emotionally mature, sex is a natural extension of intimacy, a space where you allow someone to come closer, not just physically but emotionally. It's where you feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to be loved, and to love back with sincerity. But for a narcissist, sex is never about connection. For them, it's a stage for control. It's not an act of sharing. It's a tactic of possession. They don't want to be with you, they want to own you. And the worst part? They'll make you believe it's love. One woman once shared, "When I was with him, I felt like the most beautiful, desirable woman he had ever had. But right after sex, I felt drained, not physically, but emotionally." That is the essence of being sexually involved with someone high in narcissistic traits. In the beginning, they'll try to come across as the perfect lover. Not because they care about your pleasure, but because they want you to admire them, become enchanted by them, and ultimately dependent on them. Once you start believing they are the best you've ever had, they feel they've won. The emotional connection you think you're building is often just an illusion, manufactured and controlled by them. While you're slowly opening up, they are simply playing a role. They watch your reactions, measure the adoration in your eyes, and feed off the validation you give them. And then the strange shift begins. The moment you start wanting deeper emotional connection, more honesty, more presence, they begin to withdraw. They lose interest. You're left wondering what you did wrong, when in fact you've simply stepped into the one space they fear the most, true intimacy. Because real intimacy requires honesty, emotional presence, and empathy, 3 things a narcissist cannot sustain. They can't let someone see who they truly are, because beneath the charming exterior lies a fragile ego, plagued by insecurity and dependent on admiration. So if, after being intimate with someone, you find yourself feeling more alone, ignored, or empty instead of connected and loved, trust that feeling. It's the first red flag that this person may not be showing up with their heart, but with a strategy. They don't want to know who you are, they just want you to believe who they are. They don't want your love, they want you to worship the version of themselves they've carefully created, and once that goal is achieved, you become a conquered trophy, one they quickly grow bored of and discard. Sign 2. They don't love you with their body, they control you with desire. One of the most confusing experiences when being sexually involved with a narcissist is this: they are never consistent. There are nights when they touch you as if you're their whole world, passionate, intense, attentive, making you feel like you are the center of the universe. But then the very next night, or even hours later, they go cold, distant, silent, lying beside you as if you're a stranger, no affection, no words, no eye contact, and you start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Am I still attractive to them? Are they in love with someone else? But the truth is, the problem isn't you, it's the emotional manipulation cycle they've carefully constructed. A narcissist uses sex as a double-edged weapon. When they want to hook you emotionally, they become magnetic. When they want to punish you, they withdraw intimacy. Not out of disinterest, but as a calculated move to destabilize your sense of worth. You get trapped in an emotional loop. Highs, they make you feel special, irreplaceable. Withdrawal, they turn cold, making you feel invisible. Anxiety, you start chasing their attention. Reward, they suddenly warm up again, and you feel relieved. Repeat, you keep trying, hoping, waiting. They don't make love because they care. They use physical intimacy as a lever of psychological control. A kiss isn't closeness, it's a signal, I still control your emotions. Even worse, this inconsistency becomes addictive. When affection is rare and unpredictable, your brain begins to crave it like a drug. You end up chasing breadcrumbs of passion just to feel seen again. Sign 3. They need to be idolized, not loved. Love is about sharing, but a narcissist isn't looking for love, they're looking for absolute worship. To them, you're not a person, you're a mirror, reflecting back the ideal image they want to see of themselves. And when you're in bed with them, what they crave isn't connection, it's confirmation that they are the best lover you've ever had. In the beginning, they'll make you feel lucky to be chosen. They'll project the image of someone confident, charming, and desirable, someone anyone would be lucky to have. But here's the truth you need to know. Behind that image is a fragile ego that can only survive by feeding on your admiration. During sex, they watch you, not to understand your needs, but to make sure you're admiring them properly. Are you excited enough? Are you giving them praise afterward? Are you admitting they're the best? If yes, they'll seem content. If not, a strange coldness will start to creep in, as if you've committed an unspoken offense. One person once said, "After every time we slept together, he never asked how I felt. He only said, 'I know you'll never find anyone better than me.'" That's not love. That's the hunger of a starving ego demanding constant validation. And here's where it gets dangerous. If you're an empathetic person, you might naturally offer that validation because you sense their need. You think if you just admire them enough, they'll finally feel secure and give back emotionally. But with a narcissist, the more you worship them, the more entitled they feel to look down on you in their mind. The relationship only works when they're above and you're below. Every compliment, every admiring gaze becomes narcissistic supply. the fuel they need to keep their false self-polish alive. They don't want equal love. They want you kneeling at the altar of the identity they've built. And when you begin to express your own opinions, when your admiration becomes less automatic, they'll withdraw their attention, punish you with silence, or make you feel like you're no longer enough. They didn't love you for who you are. They needed you to play the role of adoring fan in the performance that is their life. They'll keep you in a state of emotional uncertainty, where one look or gesture from them makes you feel chosen again, and that instability drives you to work harder for the approval you once felt so easily. Sign 4. You discover they're involved with other people, and everything they said starts to fall apart. At first, they made you feel like you were the only one. The way they looked at you, touched you, whispered passionate words, all of it made you feel special. So special that you didn't question it when they said they were busy, needed space, or weren't ready for commitment. You believed them because the sex was intense, the connection felt deep, and they made you feel like their whole world. But then, a strange message pops up on their phone, a late-night call from an unknown contact, a social media account they won't let you follow. One day, you catch a glimpse of them with someone else, and in their panicked eyes, in their rushed excuses, something inside you breaks. That's when you realize you weren't the only one. Maybe you never were. With ordinary people, infidelity might come from a variety of reasons. But for a narcissist, having multiple relationships isn't just about lust. It's about manipulating emotional supply. They need constant attention, adoration, and backup sources of validation. They don't want to risk being alone. If you begin to question them or set boundaries, they need someone else ready to fill your place. And when you catch them, they don't apologize. They blame you. You're too controlling. You're jealous. You're imagining things. They twist the narrative until you start questioning your own reality, until you wonder if it's your fault for not being enough. Their infidelity isn't just a betrayal of the body, it's a betrayal of your emotions, your sanity, your self-worth. They let you believe you were exclusive while undermining you behind the scenes. They give just enough affection to keep you hooked, all while investing in others behind your back. Sign 5. They make you addicted to them, then abandon you when you need them most. Being with a narcissist doesn't start in chaos. In fact, it usually begins with a wave of euphoria. They make you laugh, they listen, or at least pretend to. They say all the things you've longed to hear. They lift you to emotional and physical highs, making you feel like you've finally found your missing half. But here's what you don't realize. You're not being loved. You're being programmed. In the beginning, they flood you with validation, constant attention, excessive praise, passionate intimacy. They train your nervous system to associate their presence with safety, with pleasure, with pleasure. One day, they begin to withdraw it all. One day they're cold, distant, unavailable. They stop texting like they used to. The passion fades. You start to wonder, did I do something wrong? And because they once gave you so much, now you're desperate to win it back, like an addict chasing that first high. This is what psychologists call trauma bonding, an addictive attachment formed through cycles of idealization and rejection. The narcissist knows exactly how to make you feel euphoric, and then pull it away just to watch you chase them. When you reach out, they avoid. When you pull away, they reel you back in. It's a game and you're caught in it. Worse still, when you truly need them, during hardship, emotional pain, or even just a vulnerable moment, they disappear, or worse, they stay only to make you feel smaller, weaker, and ashamed. To them, your emotions are not sacred, they are tools, levers of control. You become trapped in a cruel paradox. The very person who once made you feel safe is now the source of your deepest confusion and hurt. Sign 6. They're always right, and you're always wrong. In a healthy relationship, Differences in opinion are natural, even essential. They're not threats. They're opportunities to grow, to understand each other better. But to a narcissist, disagreement isn't a difference. It's a challenge to their authority. They don't just want agreement, they demand submission. When you express a differing view, you're not simply sharing your thoughts. You're, in their eyes, questioning their power. And that, for a narcissist, is intolerable. You'll start to notice a familiar pattern. No matter what the topic is, they're always right. And if you disagree, they'll make you feel foolish, irrational, or too sensitive. Anytime you try to present your reasoning, they'll cut you off, twist the topic, or redirect the conversation. Anything to make you doubt your own perception. This is classic covert gaslighting, the kind that slowly erodes your confidence, not with rage, but with subtle superiority. You start second-guessing yourself, not because you're wrong, but because you're being manipulated to believe you are. One person said, "I can't even remember the last time I won a disagreement with him. Even when I had proof, he'd still make me feel like I was missing something, or worse, that I was being selfish." To a narcissist, truth is secondary. What matters is dominance. They're not trying to understand you, they're trying to keep you beneath them. If you express a thought that contradicts their view, you'll be met with silence, sarcasm, or dismissiveness. This is especially obvious when it comes to sex. If you express your needs, preferences, or boundaries, they'll weigh them off as too much, too needy, or not normal. In their eyes, only their desires matter. Anything else threatens their control. When you try to communicate, they don't listen to understand, they listen to argue. Every conversation becomes a battleground where they must emerge victorious. And if you're an empathetic person, you'll probably try to keep the peace, softening your voice, compromising your stance. But to a narcissist, this is just further proof that they're superior and you are not. Over time, you may begin to feel like your voice no longer matters. The pain doesn't come from one big fight. It comes from the slow erosion of your confidence, your sense of self. You begin to wonder, am I even allowed to think differently anymore? Sign 7. They think they know you better than you know yourself. There's a strange feeling that comes when someone constantly says, "I know exactly what you're thinking." At first it may seem romantic, as if they understand you on a deeper level. But when it comes from a narcissist, that phrase isn't about connection, it's about psychological ownership. They don't just want to be a part of your life, they want to invade your sense of self and redefine who you are on their terms. And they don't do it through cruelty, they do it through certainty, through charm, through confident observations that sound like insight. You might, for example, share something simple, like not wanting to talk too much about a past relationship early on. But they'll look at you, smile and say, "You're afraid of intimacy. I can see that clear as day. You don't let people in because someone hurt you, didn't they?" They're not asking to understand, they're declaring, they're not listening, they're rewriting your narrative. And in the realm of sex, this becomes even more invasive. If you're uncomfortable with something or express a boundary, they won't ask why. They'll diagnose you on the spot. You're holding back because you've never been with someone who could please you. You react like that because you're used to disappointing partners. It may sound like concern, but in truth, it's a total denial of your right to self-define. You're no longer allowed to be the expert on yourself. Your thoughts, your needs, your truth, all are overridden by their version of who they think you are. And if you push back, you'll be cast into a role, defensive, difficult, emotionally closed off. They'll make you feel guilty for setting boundaries or even just voicing your own emotional truth. This is gaslighting dressed up as care. Instead of asking, "How do you feel?" they say, "I know exactly how you feel." Instead of letting you reveal your own truth, they assign you one. And slowly, you start to wonder, maybe I really am like that. No, you're not. But they need you to believe that to keep control. This is a subtle form of psychological infiltration, one that slowly robs you of your voice and your agency. And worse, you may find yourself living into the roles they've written for you, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. For people with a history of being judged, abandoned, or overly controlled in childhood, this kind of intentional misinterpretation can pierce deep into the core, feeding the fear that maybe you're confused, flawed, or too messy to be understood on your own terms. Sign 8. They never truly talk about sex. They just use it as a tool. In a mature relationship, sex is more than just a physical act. It's a silent conversation between two souls, a language of trust and emotional freedom. And when something in your intimate life feels off, an honest conversation should be the bare minimum. But with someone who carries narcissistic traits, you'll quickly notice there's one thing that never happens: genuine dialogue. You might try to share that you don't feel truly connected during intimacy, or that emotional closeness matters more to you than just physical movement. But the moment you speak up, a cold wall appears. They smirk, brush you off, or worse, go completely silent, as if you just ruined something sacred. They don't hear you, they judge you, and then they twist your emotional needs into a character flaw. You're overcomplicating everything. Why can't you just enjoy the moment? This isn't about me, it's your issue. You're not invited into a conversation. You're pushed out of intimacy. In their eyes, sex is not a space for connection, it's a stage for performance. A place where they must shine, dominate, and be admired. And you're just the audience expected to applaud. Any emotion, desire, or need you express feels like you're disrupting a show they've carefully scripted, and if you keep trying to communicate, they'll start using avoidance as a tool of control. Emotional distance, cold silence, no affection, with no explanation. Eventually, you'll find yourself trying harder, dressing better, being more seductive, more obedient, just to earn a few moments of their attention again. And that's when you need to stop, not because you did something wrong, but because they were never willing to understand in the first place. They don't avoid these conversations because they're shy. They avoid them because they know that if you speak, they'll lose control. If you're heard, they're no longer the center. If you're allowed to express your truth, you might realize they never cared about connection, only about being served. Sign 9. You have feelings, but they don't need them to function. There's a quiet kind of pain no one talks about, lying next to someone, bare, open, almost melting with emotion, and they're as cold as if they were watching an ad break in a show they don't even care about. To a narcissist, intimacy isn't a bridge between souls, it's a mirror, a reflection of their own ego. They don't touch you to understand you. They touch you to confirm that they can still make you tremble, fall apart, or surrender. And once they've done that, they turn away, leaving you alone with emotions they have no intention of dealing with. You might have just cried. You might be hurting. You might be reaching for a look, a hug, just a moment of presence. But what you get instead is, they check their phone, they sleep, they shower in silence. This isn't indifference, it's deliberate. They want you to understand. I'm not here to care about your feelings, I'm here to be admired. You start to question yourself. Am I asking too much? Shouldn't adults be more composed? But then you realize what you're craving isn't a luxury, it's the bare minimum in a relationship. A question, a hand on your back, a simple gesture that says, I see you. You exist, even when you're not easy to love. And yet the answer, every time, is a silence so hollow it echoes. The cruelest part, they only show up when you're cheerful, pretty, easy to handle. But when you're sad, tired, vulnerable, you vanish from their emotional radar. You're no longer useful. Because in their world, your emotions don't fit, unless they serve a function, to make them feel important, to let them play the savior, or worse, to use as proof that you're just too emotional, too much, too messy. Sign 10. You're constantly being subtly put down, but you don't notice it at first. At first, they shower you with praise. You're so special. No one's ever made me feel this way. I've never met someone as smart and attractive as you. These words feel like honey and you believe them. You feel seen, valued, and finally cherished by someone who seems to truly recognize your worth. But then things begin to shift. Slowly and subtly, the compliments fade. In their place come vague, unsettling remarks. You used to be prettier, you know. I don't get why you think that. Maybe you're just being too sensitive. Relax, I was just joking. Tiny comments, repeated, just enough to make you question yourself. No longer uplifted. You start to feel quietly drained, and the scariest part, you can't quite put your finger on what's wrong. They're not yelling, they're not name-calling. They're simply planting doubt about your appearance, your intelligence, your emotions, your very sense of self. They don't shatter you all at once, they erode you, slowly, under the disguise of just being honest or trying to help. You start apologizing for things you didn't even do. You give more, sacrifice more, just to keep them. But no matter what you do, it never seems like it's enough. In reality, this is a manipulation tactic. They lower your self-worth just enough to keep you from leaving, but never enough for you to feel confident again. Because once you believe you're not good enough, you'll rely on them for validation, and they know that. If you saw yourself in any of the signs we discussed today, please know this. You are not crazy, you're not weak, and you're not too sensitive, no matter how many times they made you believe that. What you've been through is one of the most deceptive forms of manipulation, where sex, affection, and intimacy are turned into weapons of control. Real love doesn't make you feel guilty for needing care. It doesn't make you feel like you're too much or never enough. Real love doesn't drain you and then abandon you when you need it most. If today you had the courage to recognize that this relationship is hurting you, not to blame yourself, but to understand that you deserve better, then that's already the first step toward healing. You can't change a narcissist, but you can change how much access they have to your mind, your body, and your spirit. You can walk away from what's breaking you and choose clarity, peace, and dignity instead. If this video helped wake something up inside of you, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who might be trapped in a toxic relationship. Let this channel be your safe place, your reminder, and your companion on the journey to wholeness, because you deserve to be loved without having to lose yourself in the process.